start this off by saying that this is totally terrifying, like completely. I'm used to being on stage, like Mrs. Evans said, for singing and acting purposes, like the one you just saw. But that's when I'm pretending to be someone else. This time, I come before all of you as nothing but Nikki Kirkwood, 4-year senior, prefect, and one of the captains of the dance team. This time, my performance consists of nothing but a true story. So, here we go. Picture this, me, but about half my size, very, very skinny and totally overactive. This is what I looked like as a child. I was never able to sit still and pay attention. My body was never quite as strong as everyone else's, and my behavior wasn't good, and I was always, always sick. It was like that for almost a decade. My poor parents getting phone calls about how I didn't dance with the other ballerinas and instead did my own thing. How I refused to nap in preschool. They eventually had to bring in a pack and play to keep me contained. They were constantly dealing with doctor's trips and endless sicknesses, even having to put me on a nebulizer when I had pneumonia. But none of this was my fault. Unbeknownst to me, my body was fighting a war, and the battle was taking its toll in the form of my actions, physical ability, and overall health. I was living in Beijing, China, when I really started to feel the effects of this fight. I started getting hives that would pop up all over my body, from my legs to my arms and torso to my neck and face. I was throwing up when I ate, and I was in incredible pain. This went on for a while, until I described heartburn perfectly to my mother at the age of 8, saying I had a, quote, stomach ache that would come up into my heart. Imagine your young daughter telling you she feels like her heart is being squeezed and overheated at the same time. Not fun. She took me to a doctor, and I was soon scheduled for a gastroendoscopy. I had never been put under before, and I was nervous, but I don't regret it because it was life-changing. Before I went under, my dad promised me that I would get a cookie after the procedure to make me feel better. However, after taking part of my digestive cells to be examined, I was diagnosed with celiac disease, which meant no cookie, no cake, and no Dunkin' Donuts for the rest of my life. Can you imagine? Even though I had to give up most of my favorite foods, this discovery saved me. My academics picked up, I started growing, I could sit still and focus, and most importantly, I was healthy. It's crazy to me that one small thing in my diet almost could have, and still can, literally kill me. I felt my body shutting down, and who knows what would have happened if my mother didn't listen to me and take me to a doctor. But it's also crazy to me that one small thing changed the course of my life so drastically, and I am who I am today because of it. But changing diets didn't magically give me the skills I hadn't finished learning during my childhood. I wasn't as well versed in the aspects of making new friends when I arrived at Blair as everyone else, and I was scared. I didn't know how to room with another person. I didn't know how to talk to the other girls down the hall I so desperately wanted and still want to be friends with. And I didn't know how to be alone with myself for hours on end. But I was excited to come here. I couldn't wait to see my roommate, to move into my dorm, and to proudly show my grandparents, my parents, my sisters, my campus. I was thrilled to be taking Chinese again after 3 years away from Beijing. I was happy I could continue my choir involvement, and I was really excited when I learned that being in a show counted for your afternoon sport. Of course, because I was behind so much in life, I didn't do well freshman year in terms of my social life. Most of the year was a blur of loneliness, sadness, and a feeling of failure. I started to fear mealtimes, knowing I'd be seen eating alone, or knowing I'd have to sit with someone I thought didn't want me there, or that there wouldn't be any options for those of us with dietary restrictions. I started waking up earlier and going down to breakfast sooner, just so I could eat alone and have no one else see me. Sorry, Mr. Mazza, saying hello to you wasn't the only reason I was the first freshman to sign in every morning. Until I met a group of seniors. I started eating meals with them, and for the first time in months, I was happy. I thought I'd found a group of people who I could sit with, and meals slowly became bearable. However, after 2 weeks of happiness went by, one of the seniors told me not to join them anymore because I was loud and annoying, and that to save face with his group, he didn't want me there. Whatever happiness I had gathered in those few weeks vanished completely, and meals became scary again. Breakfast would remain a lonely experience for me for the rest of the year, but lunch and dinners slowly got better with the introduction of my best friend, Alex Schamberger. I looked forward to our nightly dinners, and she brought me out of my own mind. It was her who made me realize that I could still make friends and that everything would be okay. On top of the amazingness that is Alex, there is one other thing I remember so clearly from that year, and made a bigger impact on me than I can explain. Megan Donaghy, you do not remember this, I'm sure, but one cold morning on the way to class, we passed another on the walkway, and you gave me a fist bump. That's it. One fist bump and I cried. You have no idea how happy that made me. Just that one little gesture made me feel like someone had finally seen me and that it would be all right. The rest of freshman year was okay. I started going to events with a small group of friends I'd found, and I started to relax a bit. I realized that if I wouldn't be able to enjoy Blair as a boarder, I could switch to a day student. This way I could see my family and friends from home as well as enjoy Blair. And breakfast didn't have to be scary anymore. Sophomore year was even better. Becoming a day student was the right choice for me. I started feeling happier and healthier. I started to go to more events, and I even joined a few clubs. I also started to enjoy my classes, and campus and those who lived here felt more comfortable and welcoming. Shout out to Zoe Lament for the paperclip art she made in our Chinese 2 class and gave to me, saying, "Here you go, it's a ring." She meant it as a joke, but I still have it. But then, of course, COVID hit. And while that was obviously awful because it was a global pandemic, my luck made sure it wasn't the only thing that happened. That was the year my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. I spent the rest of my sophomore year worried about my mother and worried about the pandemic. I was scared for my grandparents, for my friends with health issues, afraid of what the pandemic would do, and let's be honest, everyone's work ethic suffered with the virtual school. When we returned junior year, I was ready for the year to begin anew. I started tentatively reaching out more, and I was amazed at the responses. I met new people, started doing more, and I was beginning to really love Blair. School was becoming better and better by the day, and Mom underwent 2 surgeries and is now cancer-free. Senior year has been the best year yet. I'm in classes I love, learning about things I'm interested in. I'm surrounded by people I love and who love me, and I'm happier this year than I've been in a long, long time. I enjoy my time in the dining hall, and I'd love to join any one of you during lunch. Just come stop by. I didn't come up here today to tell you about how much I struggled during my first year at Blair, but to show you that I have grown, and you can too. As SC said when he came to speak to us, that's how human connection happens. When we tell the real stories, and this was part of mine. I was a weak, sick kid, but now I'm a strong, involved student, known for my role in music, and a complete and total lover of Blair. My message is this: people are so much more than they seem. Take the time to appreciate what you have, because the things you never thought about could mean the world to someone else, like a fist bump or a silly paperclip ring. Remember that we are incredibly lucky to be here at Blair, and that if your start here wasn't easy, you are not alone. There are people out there who will welcome you into open arms if you just say hello. I have been there. Being new in a sea of people who seem to know everyone else is terrifying, but it's okay. Truth be told, they're just as scared as you. I'm also here to challenge you. I want you to get to know the quiet student. Invite someone who's sitting alone to your table. Make this community closer than it's ever been. And most importantly, remember that your past does not define you. You do not have to be the stereotype you think everyone else knows you as. What you've been through, what you've had to deal with, do not have to be the defining features in your life. Break the mold, be yourself. You only have 4 years at the school. Let's make it the best you can. Thank you, and seniors first.